Okay, so all eyes this week were on Victoria. All eyes were on the Victoria. We had that enormously peak day of 723. Now, I think the 723 came as a bit of a shock, mainly for people who understand numbers, but also also because there was a bit of a build-up around the fact that the 520, I think the day before, somewhere around that number.
Was supposed to be the peak.
Exactly. That was meant to be the peak. People were like, okay, that's a lot of numbers, but from now on it's going to go down. And it didn't go down. Yeah.
And then it did the exact opposite.
Now, look, at least we haven't gone above that 723. That's really great.
Well, I think a lot of the Victorian and national health authorities and leaders are very reluctant to say, this is the largest number that you would expect, because last time they did that, they clearly jinxed it.
Yeah.
And it was clearly trumped the next day.
Look, absolutely, jinx certainly comes into it. All 100%. Superstitions are on the table, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's crossing their fingers and toes. Yeah.
I blame this whole pandemic on black cats.
And walking under ladders.
Yeah. Now the
guy in Wuhan smashed a mirror. Yeah. It was all over from there.
He forgot to chuck the salt over his shoulder at the same time. Now, exactly. Now, one of the superstitions, I suppose you could call it that, it's a more of a modern superstition, is the mask situation, and whether or not it's sort of become a little bit of a political football. It's not so much. I think in America it's a proper political football in the sense that the political parties are kind of like head to head about masks and all that sort of stuff. I think here the political football is not. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not necessarily politicians. It's really the general public thinking that they live in America and that they want to go around flouting the rules and stuff like that. So do I have a right, Jake, to not wear a mask? And do I have a right to sort of go up to the police officers and start saying, stuff you?
You asked two questions there. Do you have a right to not wear a mask? You, Greg, as someone who lives in New South Wales,
I do.
Do have a right to not wear a mask.
Absolutely.
However, anybody outside of their
I'm not wearing one right now.
outside of, and it's testament to the fact that I can understand what you're saying.
Yes.
Look, if you're in Victoria at the moment, essentially the public health advice and the public health, it's not the act, but they've declared a state of emergency, and it says that everybody must be wearing a mask on a continual basis. If they are outside of their home or outside of their permanent residence.
Yeah.
So
now that's for people 13 years and older, from what I understand. So if you're 13 years old, you have to wear a mask outside. Teachers don't have to wear the mask while they're teaching the kids, but if they go from one classroom to another classroom, they have to wear the mask while they're I was going to say transversing, but I presume they're just walking.
No. Look, when I walk from one side of a campus to another side of the campus, I am completely transversing that.
I don't even think it's a word. I think it's traversing. It's not even a word.
No, so yeah, look, and it is all these sorts of. Maybe you can refer to them as sort of non-universal or exemptions that make things a little bit confusing. I've heard a lot of commentary this week that says if there were a blanket rule that just said the second that you walk out of your house, whether you are 2 years old or 100 years old, you need to be wearing a mask. If you are not with your family inside your house, you need to be wearing a mask because the evidence suggests, and there's been a lot of it's been preliminary, but a lot of research around the wearing of masks, and it shows that if you have coronavirus and you are wearing a mask, you are less likely to spread coronavirus.
Yes.
There's not a huge amount of evidence for protection from coronavirus if you don't have it.
Yep.
So, protection from the general public. But, the evidence is certainly there to suggest that if you currently have it, and for example, you might be asymptomatic, that virus is still heading out of your mouth, out of your nose, out of your various other orifices on droplets.
Yeah.
And if you have have a responsibility as a member of society to protect the other people within society.
Yeah.
So it is really crazy. And a lot of this stuff that was coming out this week around the Bunnings K word. I hear you can't say it because it's bad as other words. I'm a little bit skeptical about that.
Well, I know a few Karens. And so I just refuse to say it. I just sort of want the meme to die before too long, I guess, because I just sort of feel like I worry that I will jump on board the Karen situation and then one day it will be Gregg. And I will just be like, no, like I'm a nice, I'm a decent.
Being such a classic Gregg.
Being such a classic Gregg. That's exactly right. And I don't know exactly what it would mean yet, but I just don't want it to be. I think a specific name for a meme is a bit harsh to.
It is. Yeah. Look, I was obviously being facetious.
I know. Yeah.
But it is one of those things that that individual who was trying to flout rules in Bunnings and then in a post office. There was the other individual who was crossing a border or doing a border crossing, and the first time they went across, they were able to give false details and pass through.
Yeah.
And she was elated, but then when she went through the next time, they were vastly it was vastly different circumstances, and the police ended up busting her window in order to arrest her.
So there's a lot of viral videos. One of my favorite viral videos was the one. I don't know the circumstance exactly, but she'd filmed herself and was live streaming it on Facebook, and she was saying to the police officers, have I broken a law? Have I broken a law? And the police officers are like, yes, ma'am, you have broken a law. She's like, what is that law?
She would say something to the order of, oh, well, I don't consent.
That's right.
To that. I'm going to arrest you. No, I don't consent to that.
That's exactly where it ended up. So the police was saying, it was so funny. The police was saying, you're breaking the law. You have to give us your details. She's like, I'm not giving you our details. Okay, well, we're going to put you under arrest. And she's like, well, I don't consent to being put under arrest.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. And she's like, do you want to continue? Like, I'm going to sue you. Do you want to continue? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. And they're like, well, I want your badge number and your name. And they're like, here's my name. Here's my badge number.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really great.
Funny, but not funny.
It all stems from, I don't know if you're familiar with the what's called the sovereign citizen movement.
No. I just follow the rules, Jake. I don't really.
Well, look, I'm with you as well, but it's one of those really interesting fringe groups who believe in absolute sovereignty of everything. That they're essentially staunch libertarians,
right?
To borrow the sort of parlance from the US. But essentially, they believe their property is their property, and they don't need to pay taxes because essentially, if they refuse to use the services that taxes provide, then therefore they should not need to pay those taxes. They're really, really interesting people. I'm using interesting in a particular way here, and look, it's evidenced by this group of individuals who have decided to live stream themselves getting arrested for being idiots, or COVID-idiots, if you like.
Yeah,
they're crazy people.
Yeah, they should just live themselves being idiots from their bedrooms, Jake.
or office studios, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a couple of plants in the background.
One thing that I would say is so the so-called Bunnings Karen. Sorry, I'll use the term. I have a couple of good friends who are named Karen as well, and I do feel especially sad for them.
Yeah, look, I think we can call them so-called. That's fine.
So-called,
yeah,
exactly.
that redeems you. Yeah.
Exactly. So the Bunnings Karen, the so-called Bunnings Karen, she was interviewed on the Today Show, the morning Today Show by Karl Stefanovic and somebody else. And I feel that by advertising her position, by allowing her to have a platform, a greater platform than she already did have through live streaming and being, instantly picked up by a billion other things on YouTube and et cetera. It's giving her a platform. It's giving her a way to espouse her genuinely weird, wacky, and I would suggest crazy views.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, it's all about the views these days, Jake. It's all about the views. It's all about the clicks. And the problem with putting the responsibility on these TV shows to not give these people airtime is, well, you're sort of putting the responsibility on the viewer to not watch it, and oh well, I'd probably watch it too. I didn't even know they did that, but I would probably definitely watch that Jake.
I probably definitely did too.